Okay, we have some news. We'll let you decide whether it's good or not. Taco Tits is not dead, but but his visible health concerns are spawning some serious questions, and we're going to talk about it among many other things. I'm Mallory Hagan.
And I'm Maggie Gelson Burnett. This is Pretty Furious.
Hey, Maggie.
Hi, Mallory.
Long time no see.
Oh, I can't believe he's not dead.
I know. My next question in the note says, "Did Trump die?"
In huge capital letters.
And then come back to life. I mean, he might be the Antichrist, so that's possible, I guess.
He looks terrible. He looks god awful.
He looks like he took a trip to Sephora before he showed up on his press conference to talk about his big announcement. We'll talk about what it is.
It's giving Prince Philip riding in the car. That meme of like Prince Philip, like when he was like literally at death's door. Like that is
Yes.
exactly what Trump looks like right
Looking
now.
like a corpse.
A
Yeah.
full corpse.
Well, God, that's been the question for the last week and a half or so. People have just been speculating about Trump's health. And in the midst of a 24-hour news cycle questioning, obviously his absence from the public eye. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more and a few other things, but we can't be pretty fierce without being pretty first. What do you got for us?
I'm bringing back a product.
If you tell me that you're bringing us Head and Shoulders.
I'm bringing you pew pew pew. I'm bringing you Head and Shoulders.
I
Guys,
never thought in a million years at 36 years old I would be gunning for a Head and Shoulders sponsorship.
please sponsor this podcast. Guys, okay, so I have, you can't really see it right now because I use Head and Shoulders. I took some antibiotics for this ear infection I had, and this happened last time I took antibiotics. I took them, did the full cycle of them, and then like 4 or 5 days later, I started breaking out in the worst like fungal acne situation you've ever seen. My friend Alex, who is a cosmetic chemist, was like, use Head and Shoulders on that shit. Guys, it literally works. I texted Mallory a meme of the dad from My Big Fat Greek Wedding with Windex. That's how I feel about Head and Shoulders. I'm like, just put some Head and Shoulders on it. It'll go away. It's fine. So yeah, my product is Head and Shoulders. It's the best.
I think this is literally the fourth time, but
It fully
we'll take
is.
it.
Yeah.
We're just drilling it home. If you listen to this podcast on the regular, by God, you better have some Head and Shoulders under your cabinet.
You should.
Okay.
You should.
Mine this week is brought to you by one of my best girlfriends, Tala. Tala recently started going to boot camp in the mornings, and Tala has a ton of hair, like way more hair than I ever thought about having. And like many people, I don't know if you feel this way, but workouts have to revolve around what we're doing with the shower situation, with the hair and the makeup. And I swear,
Absolutely.
if none of that was a question, I probably would be in much better shape, because the whole like
1,000%.
math equation that you have to do to determine what time you're going to work out so that you can shower, if you need to wash your hair, when you're putting on your makeup.
Absolutely.
I envy men for a lot of things. And that's kind of at the top of the list, I'm not going to lie. So anyway, Tala put me onto this. This is R&Co spiritualized dry shampoo mist. And have you ever used this?
I love that stuff. They used to have that at in the Soul Cycle bathrooms when I worked there.
Oh, well,
I did steal a bottle or two.
I don't blame you. That's like when I used to go to Equinox, they had Kiehl's products, and
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I may or may not have filled up a bottle or two of Kiehl's for my own house.
Fully.
I mean, I was paying $200 a month for the fucking gym membership.
You
Sue
owned
me.
it, basically. Yeah, exactly.
Sue me. Probably wasn't even Kiehl's in there, to be honest, but whatever. Anyway, Tala put me onto this, and I think my first like round of using it, I went 8 days without washing my hair. And it was,
Oh my God.
yeah. So
That's really impressive.
agreed. So while I have used other dry shampoos in the past, this one now takes its seat on top of the throne. I like it the most.
I forgot how good that one is because it's like you can use it when your hair is like, this is disgusting, but like wet.
You're
from the
supposed to.
sweat. Yeah.
That's
so
what it
it's like
says. It's
supposed
like
to be like sweaty and fucking gross.
Yeah, you're supposed to put it in with your hair a little bit damp, like around the.
Ugh.
Yeah, beautiful.
Anyway, well, let's move on to what has us pissed off this week.
God, pretty
Has
furious.
there been a
Besides the
headline
fact,
besides the Trump's not dead? Dude, I woke up this morning at like, first of all, I got like no sleep last night because I was like kicking my feet. I was like a kid getting ready for a snow
Hoping.
day. Like, oh yeah, I was like, please cancel school tomorrow. Please cancel school. Like I was just I
The
hate
amount-
that I have such hope for things.
I know it doesn't make me feel good about myself, but you know, it's kind of like Dexter. Like when you watch Dexter, you were rooting for him to kill the bad people, even though killing is bad. And that's how I feel about this situation. I'm like, is
Fully.
it bad to root if the person is bad? I don't know.
Absolutely. I get it. 100%. But anyway, do you have a headline that's made you pretty furious, Mallory?
Well, I mean, of course it's him. That something that he said
God
that's
damn
made
it.
me mad. But before I do read off my headline, it pertains to the shooting in Minneapolis, and we haven't recorded since that took place. So just want to acknowledge the folks, the 21 people who have either been injured or who have since passed. And I think one thing that, you know, every time we talk about gun violence in this country and how absolutely insane and ridiculous it is, people always say numbers like that. You know, 3 more are injured, 21 are injured, and those numbers kind of climb in the days following depending on what transpired. But I just want to quickly point out that those who are injured are not just the people who have physical injuries, that the trauma is long lasting and it impacts thousands of people. What a traumatic thing to experience as a parent, a traumatic thing to experience as a child standing next to somebody who may or may not have been harmed or passed away. Just the trauma, the ripple effect of the trauma is far greater than the numbers that get reported. And I think that's a piece of this puzzle that we need to continue shining light on when we talk about gun violence. It's not just the people who are in harm's way. It's the ripple effect of everyone who is harmed in the process through the trauma. But the headline that has made me pretty furious is actually in the midst of Trump's not dead press conference. He said that he wants every teacher who served in the military to be armed to prevent school shootings from happening in the future. And I would just like to point out that on January 12th, 2013, I stood on stage in front of 13 million people and answered a question about whether or not adding armed guards to schools would make them safer. And it is September of 2025. That is 12 years later. And we are having the same motherfucking conversation.
Yep.
Putting more guns in schools is not the answer to safer schools, as demonstrated by the amount of school resource officers that have been present at school shootings and have done jack shit to stop them. So that's made me pretty furious today. Stop suggesting that we just add more weapons to the conversation, please.
Yeah, it's the age old like adage of, is it a mental health problem or a gun problem? And like when Republicans and conservatives continue to ask this question, it's like, what have we not learned? There have been ample opportunities for us to learn this, that it is a gun problem, and the access to these guns is the issue that we are facing here. And I wonder all the time how much longer we're going to have to keep having this conversation, how many more children will be affected by this, how many more communities will be rattled by gun violence because of this question, and the lack of ability on conservatives' part to look the answer in the eye. So
I think it's so wild that we're officially getting to the point where you can't really throw a rock in any direction and find a person who hasn't in some way either been impacted by gun violence or know somebody who has. That is insane. And not to like dive deep into the subject matter, but we don't have worse mental health problems than the rest of the world. We just don't. but we do have a problem unique to the United States when it comes to gun violence
Yep.
and specifically mass shootings. So I know that part of MAGA and the conservative movement has been to create distrust in every system and every expert, but the numbers don't lie.
Exactly.
What's making you pretty furious?
My headline, which really should just be like following it should just be like an enormous like duh. This is from New York Magazine. My headline says, abortion pilled lawsuits seeking to scare women away from medication may have the opposite effect. And to that I just say, like, fucking yeah, obviously. Like, what we know to be true about abortions, about reproductive care, about abortion medication, about birth control, is that we can't take these things away and expect a different outcome. The outcome will only be more dangerous. It will only impact women on a detrimental scale. Like, that's what I don't understand about this reproductive health conversation is like, first of all, why the fuck are we having it in the first place? And also, why do we think that removing access is going to improve any kind of health outcomes for women? So,
You know, I saw
I hate it here.
I saw a meme or some, I don't know, on X where it said 2022 they overturned Roe v. Wade and everyone said just close your legs. And now in 2025, we have the lowest birth rate and coincidentally also the quote male loneliness epidemic. And everyone's like, okay, so which one is it?
Literally, like, do you want more babies or do you like what do you want? This is the constant question I ask MAGA and conservatives is like, what the fuck do you want, you guys? Do you want kids to be safer in schools? Do you want kids to live? Do you want more children born? Then maybe give people access to the care that they need and also remove the guns. I don't really know what the fuck, why we're having these conversations. Like,
I mean, it's just, we constantly talk about the mental gymnastics that it takes, but to out of two sides of your mouth say, we care about families. We want to grow families. We want children to be protected and children to be safe. And then, take away access to healthcare, add more guns to schools. It's just, these things don't add up.
yeah.
But anyway, did you know that Donald Trump is 79 and we thought he was dead, but he's not?
Oh my God, he's old as fuck. That's crazy. I actually don't think I knew that he was 79. I knew he was in his 70s.
I thought he was older. I thought he was.
He looks like shit. Let's be clear. Like, he looks terrible.
Well, everyone knows at this point that he'd not been seen in public for a few days, and the internet set ablaze with rumors about what happened to him. I actually posted something on Instagram that was to the tune of he spent a few days not attacking the US Constitution and everyone just thought he was dead.
Wasn't that Liam Neeson who posted that? That shit was hilarious. I saw that too. I thought that was hysterical. It's so good.
Yeah. I mean, at one point they did try to, I guess, squash the rumors that, he was doing just fine. And they had like these really grainy iPhone photos of him leaving the White House for a round of golf. But there's still a lot of theories.
Did you see the meme that was like, it was like him leaving the White House, one of those photos, and it was so grainy that it kind of looked like he had like a teeny little ponytail. And it said, someone said, oh, I'm so glad he didn't miss his ponytail appointment.
No, I didn't see that one.
Shit had me rolling.
But I mean, when you think about it, the access that we have to cameras and technology and him, typically, the amount of like blurred, weird photography that was coming out,
it was so weird.
There's still a lot of theories that they're covering up, obviously, the true extent of his health. So what do you think is happening?
Well, I could not get past the closures of the roads around Walter Reed Medical Center. If you looked at the map of DC yesterday, and I think it was also Sunday.
So yesterday would have been Labor Day.
Monday, Labor Day, yeah, September 1st, and then Sunday, the 31st, 30th, whatever, last day of August. on the map of DC. How many days were there in August? On the map of DC, it had red blockade, like blocked streets around Walter Reed. So everybody was like, he's dead. And I was like, I think so too. Like,
but it does make you wonder, like, what?
And then JD Vance, his weird ass comment the day before, it was like last Wednesday, he made a comment like, I'm fully ready to assume the responsibilities. And then he was like, but the president's in great health. And I'm like, JD, go back to fucking a couch. Like, I am so done with you. Like,
well, but I mean, like, whether it was subconscious or conscious, obviously, it still poses the question. Obviously, something happened or has happened or is in the midst of happening. He's being treated for something. Something more serious went down and they're not telling us. And the thing that really bothers me about all of this is not that he's having health issues, to be expected of somebody who's 79. And as much as I literally hate him, and I feel very confident using that word, you know, at the end of the day, he does have an insane schedule for someone that age. I mean, it's an insane schedule for anybody, much less a 79-year-old. So there's no like, I mean, even when people were talking about whether or not Biden was sick or well, I'm like, the dude is in his 80s. Like, what do you think is going to be happening? And also, we're all at fault for voting for these motherfuckers on both sides of the aisle. So, you know, between Mitch McConnell and all the other people who are literally passing away in the seats in Washington, D.C. But like, everyone treated Joe Biden with such the media in particular, it was so different. Every single day, everything he said, it turned around to whether or not he was healthy, whether or not he, you know, was on the cognitive decline, whether or not every day, all day long, it's all we heard about. And that narrative was, of course, pushed by Donald Trump, made worse by Donald Trump. And here we are. I mean, Donald Trump for months, for years, hasn't been able to string together a coherent sentence most days.
Right.
Where is Jake Tapper on that one?
I know. That's my whole thing is even the people who, you know, could be dubbed as, quote, Democrat, liberal, you know, newscasters or journalists we're still the ones peddling information about Biden being incompetent and not fit to lead. At least he could say like some words about foreign policy. Like, Jesus Christ, I haven't been able to understand a single sentence that Donald Trump has said in the last almost decade. Like, that man says the dumbest shit I've ever heard and like misuses words constantly and just like uses a lot of adjectives to describe things that do not need them. Like, he's like, it was a huge, huge, huge thing. And you're like, what the fuck did you just say? Like, it's just,
but that's the thing, though.
Insane.
They went on and on and on and on and on about Biden. Hell, they're still talking about Biden. And in fact, in his little press conference that he did today, instead of being dead again, he made a big announcement about Space Command coming to Huntsville, which to be really honest, can't believe. Like, this is what also makes me think they're trying to cover something up, because who the fuck cares? And I live in Huntsville.
Why make a big announcement about it? Like, what?
24 hours in advance, the president's going to make a huge announcement. And the announcement is just like what anybody who lives here was already knowing. I don't know. Stupid. Point is, there was no reason to like have this big hoopla of a press conference to talk about Space Command. Totally irrelevant. But in the midst of it, he proceeds to act like he doesn't really know why people would think he was dead. And then he goes on to say, but I heard that they said this and 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 this. And then he's like, but yeah, I didn't hear that. Like, he's sandwiched knowing exactly what was being said about him by saying he had no idea. And then he went on a tirade about the media, about how this is all the media's fault because you guys have no credibility, as he stands in front of the media to make an announcement.
Literally what? And also, we're talking about a man who like is the most narcissistic person on the planet. Like, if you think he doesn't have a saved Google search that is pinging him every minute of like what people are posting about him, you're absolutely off your fucking rocker. So this man knows exactly.
I will tell people this. There are ways through connections to target his cell phone and we use them in my job, and we can deploy media directly to him and then sit and watch how many times he watches said piece of media. And I would just like to let everyone know that it's as many times as you would think.
Oh
Yeah.
my God,
Like
that's
you can
wild.
create a rapid response ad or video and send it directly to him and then just watch the uh-huh. Yeah.
I want to play this game sometime. I would like to be a part of
I'll invite
this.
you over.
Perfect. Um, but that leads us to a broader conversation about
Mm-hmm.
if and when Donald Trump does kick the old bucket, uh, the person who would step in for Donald Trump, one JD Vance,
That is
couch fucker extraordinaire.
see it's hard okay, so it's hard to know whether or not it's scarier for a lot of reasons that I'm sure we'll get into, or whether or not MAGA's so behind their cult leader and not any of the principles of MAGA,
Mm-hmm.
if it'll just fall apart. If they won't
Right.
be able to coalesce behind JD Vance slash
Mm-hmm.
Peter Thiel. And it'll just kind of like
Yeah.
dissipate. It's hard to know.
I was
What do you
talking to Ty about this the other night, and I think what's fascinating about Trump as a person and as a politician is that he came into all of this as somebody who could cause the circus, right? Like he was the puppet of the Republican Party. He was able to spew their bullshit talking points. He was able to, make fun of disabled people and not get in trouble for it. He was the one who was able to say grab her by the pussy. Like he had this crassness to him that like people really latched onto, and it's what made him so successful in building that cult following. I will be fascinated to know how Republicans will continue to further their agenda, further their movement without that sort of like puppeteering happening. So
Well,
we know that
it's
JD Vance does not have that. He doesn't have that kind of like je ne sais quoi that like Trump did that
well,
put
don't
everybody.
even give it
Well,
that.
I
I
mean,
know what you're
what I
saying.
mean by that is like the like the sort of way he was able to speak to like,
The
just
common,
the
yeah,
common
the
folk.
common man.
Yeah. And I don't JD Vance doesn't have that. Like he doesn't have
What's
that.
interesting though is that Donald Trump came from not a single humble beginning. He's nowhere near a common man.
Mm-hmm.
He has never experienced anything like the average American's life experience. He has no concept. I mean, the man said groceries was an old-fashioned word. What the fuck?
Right.
On the other side of that, JD Vance actually did. He
Yeah.
did experience the common man life through Appalachia and Ohio. And then he actually did make something of himself the way that people idolize Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
All that to say, though, JD Vance is scary to me because he has a way of, first of all, he's a lawyer, so
Mm-hmm.
he has actually gone through not only the education around the law, but he's practiced in the way that he delivers information, the
Yep.
way he's able to manipulate people. And I remember thinking when I watched him and Tim Walz at the debate that he was scarier than Donald Trump because he has a way of making all of the things that they're saying that are completely insane sound absolutely rational.
Totally
It's not
reasonable.
like
Yeah.
Donald Trump being like, well, I don't know, maybe we should. No. He says it with
Mm-hmm.
such clarity and conviction, and the delivery of it it's like gaslighting. I was sitting there going, wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you couple that with Project 2025, which
Mm-hmm.
they are already in the midst of implementing, that to me is the scary part of passing the torch right now to JD Vance. He just has a way of delivering the information in a different way and making it seem sane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which I mean, I think, leads perfectly into the conversation around why someone like Peter Thiel was so interested in working with somebody like JD Vance, because he saw this sort of like humble beginnings, working your way up and making something of yourself. And then he was like, ooh, I see something there. You would be a great politician. Like, you know how to speak to people, you know how to speak to like the quote common working class, even though you're not a part of it anymore. Yeah, I agree completely with you. I thought during the VP debate, I was floored at how, yeah, he just made all of these things, all of these talking points of Project 2025 seem completely rational and not insidious whatsoever. And
Yeah.
that's really jarring to me, because when you look at who stands behind JD Vance, Peter Thiel is easily the scariest person on the planet to me. It's not even a question. Like, when you stack together Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, like, it is not a question that Peter Thiel is the scariest of them all. And him backing JD Vance is very alarming, to say the
Yeah.
least.
Well, and I think, JD Vance and Project 2025 echoing echoing definitely white identity politics and their ability to even more than Donald Trump's dog whistles are pretty like apparent, right? Anybody who's paying attention can call them, see them. But JD Vance, I think, just represents a whole different underlying level of Christian nationalism, the undermining of democratic norms. I mean, he's just that's what's scary to me, is like he's it's like Donald Trump gave people permission, and then now JD Vance can come in right behind him and like solidify, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. It makes me think of, honestly, of a lot of the content that Tia Levings puts out about like what are the dog whistles that we should be looking for in terms of white Christian nationalism, and how it's going to be really grown even further in our politicians and in the White House. And I think all the time about some of the things that she says and how I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even fucking put that together. Yeah. Because you would have almost had to have been on the inside of something like that. You would have had to have been a part of a white nationalist group to even understand what the dog whistles were. And so some of the stuff she talks about, I'm like, oh my God, what the fuck? That makes total sense. But it's stuff you would never know unless you were really grossly immersed in that world.
But the other side of that with him for me is like, what is it? What is Peter Thiel like his boyfriend? What is it that made him change his tune? Because it wasn't that long ago. It wasn't that long ago that he was a huge critic of Trump. And I know that people have talked about this, but like the questions of sincerity of even what he believes, and the way that we've all talked about the fact that JD Vance is a chameleon. He has no idea who he is. He's never represented anything fully. But I mean, at one point he was calling Trump morally reprehensible. He called him Hitler. And since then, obviously now he's his vice president. He's getting ready to take over the presidency. I mean, I understand that level of power and influence can outweigh a lot of people's moral compass, but that's a pretty rapid shift.
Yeah, definitely. And especially looking at like his political career and looking at how quickly that was 0 to 100, I really do believe that Peter Thiel is one of the most strategic people on the planet. Like, I think he saw an opportunity to put somebody behind Trump who could very easily sort of peddle these talking points of Project 2025. When we look at Mike Pence versus JD Vance, like, that feels like night and day to me, like when you're comparing those two people. So I think honestly that like Peter Thiel saw an opportunity and he said, I have just the guy for this. I have just the guy who's going to take all of these talking points, make them appealing to the working class, and get into the White House and take over.
I still don't understand what's in it for Peter Thiel. I mean, I guess
Peter Thiel's fucking insane. He literally said, like, on a podcast, on a full interview, he said like how he doesn't believe that the human race should continue. Like, he's just like, there's all, and firm believer in eugenics. He only believes that white people should be procreating and moving forward and moving society forward. Like, he's fucking nuts.
How do you get there? Like, how does one get there is my question.
I think it's really easy for like people like you and I and anyone who is a rational critical thinker to like get into these conversations of, we want to understand how people get to the way that they think, right? Like, we have talked about this at length in as it relates to Trump supporters. Like, how does one get to that end of the spectrum? How does somebody get their belief system to shift from point A to point B? I think that we could speculate all day as to like how someone like Peter Thiel got to where he is, but I think he's absolutely batshit crazy. I think he's absolutely fucking nuts.
One thing he certainly has done is make people forget that JD Vance is like the most inexperienced person out of every single person in Washington, D.C. right now.
100%.
JD Vance had like 1 year of being a senator before he was elevated to vice president, where he's, you know, I don't know, voted a few times in this year. And now he's about to be the president of the United States.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, they just couldn't be bothered to vote for Kamala. Just couldn't be bothered. How come no one says that JD Vance slept his way to the top? How come no one says that about him? That's
100%.
what I don't understand. Peter Thiel is his boyfriend. He has to be. What
1,000%.
What
1,000%
other explanation is there?
It's Daddy Thiel to him. Like, that is 100%. He bolstered his entire political career. The connections that Peter Thiel made for JD Vance, that should not be dismissed. This is all a part of a very big kind of system that I think has been working for many, many years in the background. And I think that Peter Thiel just saw JD Vance as like the perfect conduit for said system to flawlessly execute his plans.
I mean,
so
I guess
it's insane. I also am just so concerned about how this all is going to impact our just everything. I think specifically about our data a lot when it relates to like Peter Thiel and JD Vance, and how Palantir has government contracts with like literally every department of the government, and how that's probably only going to increase if somebody like JD Vance becomes president. That's insane to me. So
what is the plan for our data? Why does Peter Thiel want it? What's he going to do with it?
Well, surveillance, I think, is like probably the number one thing. That's the first thing, at least, that comes to mind for me, is like, how can we surveil people?
You are making me think about the fact that everybody on TikTok right now is saying that they're using the White House account to surveil us and to go block it. I don't understand that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I have not seen anything like that, but I have had the White House blocked on every platform since.
Yeah, same. But I didn't have it blocked on TikTok because they didn't have an account. But now they have an account. I don't understand. People are saying go block it because they're using it to surveil you, and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense.
That's weird. Yeah, I have no idea. But yeah, I mean, like,
but like, for what to what end though? This is I want to keep digging because I'm like, to what end? You surveil me in my home. I don't know, getting ready to have a baby. Like, what are you listening for? For me to say Peter Thiel's the worst?
Well, I think for a lot of people,
you're going to arrest us all?
I mean, I think, specifically for people like you and I, we're a couple of white gals living in America who have the means and resources to have babies and like do all of that. But say that we were somebody who didn't want children. That is where I think about a lot of this, especially as Oura Ring just announced their partnership with my little Oura Ring that's right here. Their partnership with Palantir, in terms of, it's not a direct partnership, but basically the way that it's working is that Oura Ring is now partnering with the Department of Defense, and they will be utilizing Oura Rings for military members, servicemen and women, to track biometric data,
that's
stress,
weird. That's weird.
Location. Yeah, it's bizarre. And so what people I think are
like
viewing
as a requirement.
I don't know as to though they've given that information as to if this will be, what branches will be impacted by this, what if it's all branches of the military, I don't know. If it's a requirement, not sure. But basically, this $96 million contract that Oura Ring solidified is essentially giving permission to the DoD to have all of this data on servicemen and women. I think this is obviously scariest for service women who potentially don't want to have children. I think this also is trans people who want to join the military. Obviously, that's a whole other can of worms. So basically, this contract is being painted as a technological advancement of the DoD, when in all actuality, what's going to happen is that they're using Palantir's FedStart program, which is essentially a sort of security and compliance platform that operates akin to like an app store for the government, for government contracts. So it essentially gives Palantir access to all of this data on servicemen and women. So when I tell you that, like, I'm getting fucking rid of this thing because I think that is very scary. That, like, Oura Ring then made an announcement immediately following, talking about their commitment to data privacy and how your data is not for sale, even to the government, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah. And you also partnered with the DoD, who's in cahoots with Palantir. So I don't really fucking believe you. And I also don't believe our government. So, like, no, sorry. Yeah. So, yeah, it's things like that that are sort of framed as like these really kind of no cause for concern, right? It's just the DoD letting our servicemen and women an Oura Ring, whatever. I think we should be very alarmed by shit like that. That seems really innocuous, but is actually
But, you know, where are all the
terrifying.
people during COVID who were so convinced that the government was shooting us full of microchips?
Fucking shit in our vaccines. Okay.
Well, they're like, yeah, track my sleep and my ovulation through the Oura Ring.
Deadass. We're all like, here's all of my data.
And you know what? And instead of being worried about any of those things, you know what they are worried about? Whether or not Democratic influencers are making $8,000 a month to tell people.
Pew, pew, pew.
I just want people to understand that that's just not a real thing, but okay.
Taylor Lorenz I think she should be very afraid right now. If I were her, I would be very scared.
I mean...
Okay, so if you haven't heard, there was it Wired that she wrote for, right? Yeah, okay. Sorry, I just wanted to confirm that. Okay, so if you haven't heard, Taylor Lorenz wrote a piece for Wired that was talking about Democratic influencers who were getting paid $8,000 a month to create content. And basically, it was a horrendous piece. The fact that it even made it past an editor is honestly, like, incredibly shocking to me. but that's journalism, baby. So yeah, she was talking about a very specific group of influencers who were hired by a company called Chorus. Chorus is essentially like a school for like content creators, for progressive content creators who essentially, like, the way that they operate is kind of in like a scholarship system, sort of, where it's like they take on a cohort. That cohort can learn how to create better content, can learn just how to be a better, creator in general. And then they pay them, like, to do that. And this affords people who may not usually have the opportunity to go on and become full-time content creators, etc. Yeah, basically, the gross misunderstanding of like how these systems operate is what led to the backlash of this article. So I highly encourage you to look at...
So wait, who pays into Chorus? Where were they suggesting that the money into Chorus was coming from?
So they were basically suggesting that it was coming from, quote, dark money sources. And the problem is that Taylor Lorenz also makes her money for, like, these systems all filter together. So it's like a company will also have if you have an umbrella org, that umbrella org will usually have a 501c4 under it, a 501c3, and the money will just flow. Our friend Heidi Kaluza, who was on our podcast recently, did a phenomenal explanation of how this operates. This is not unusual in the world of media. It's not unusual in the world of literally anything, honestly. But specifically how Republican content creators, conservative content creators are getting paid. Hello, they've been doing this for years.
Also, they very strategically used the money that they had, and smartly. I'll give it that.
Yeah,
I mean, we talk about this all the time. That
absolutely.
The masterminds behind the Republican and conservative media movement did a phenomenal job seeing the future and investing in media and content creation way before Democrats were even paying attention. And
yep.
I can attest, and I've invited you to be a part of it. I can attest that I'm a part of a group of creators that the DNC meets with on a regular basis and helps like send information to, send clips to, so that information can be spread faster. That's exactly what Republican content creators are doing. They're getting daily talking points. They're getting,
Yep.
This is what we want you to hit on this week. This is how we want you to distract from Donald Trump dying. Like this is what they're doing. And unfortunately the DNC is, I don't know, a whole decade behind. But the truth of the matter is that it's necessary when you're talking about comms and communication and messaging to people. It is necessary to use your messengers and to have Republicans all on the same page saying they're going to take your guns and kill your babies, which is what they've been doing for a decade, and not have Democrats doing the same thing is just stupid. But I'll tell you this, nobody in this DNC creator cohort is getting paid. Not one person. And because there are many people who came at the very beginning who were invited in and who said, if you're not going to pay me, I'm not going to be here. Mm-hmm. And they're not there. And then there's many people who are there, who are taking the info and doing with it what they want to. So,
well, and it's like, I mean, okay, so are these creators who are in essence doing a piece of the communication strategy for the Democratic Party and for the liberal agenda, are they just supposed to do it for free?
Yeah, don't you know we're all supposed to work for free?
Is that what we expect now from Democrats? Just because it's a different type of messaging, now we're expecting that from the opposite side of the aisle. Like the whole thing is quite frankly fucking stupid. And well,
also, I mean, for what it's worth, both of us know that even the simplest piece of content is time consuming. Neither of us create anything outside of just directly talking to the camera, and videos like that can take 45 minutes to an hour. Well, if you're doing more than one a day, that's work. And it might not be the type of work 100%. That people are used to, but I'm not yucking anybody's yum. Whether it's $800 or $8,000, if they're getting the message across to a large audience and it is benefiting the person paying them, then so what?
Yeah. And also, chorus,
but I don't think that they are.
To hire us, just
come on down.
We are for sale.
We will peddle your messaging and Head and Shoulders. You got to take both.
We are not above corporate sponsors. No, literally.
Oh God. Well, I just don't see anything wrong with it. People may not like it, but that's the reality of how media works. That's entirely why media ecosystems exist. That's why advertising exists, so that people can pay other people to say the shit they want them to say.
Yep.
Just nobody's paying us yet. That's all.
And if you're pissed about dark money, then wait till you hear about Fox News. Crazy.